Today, we're speaking with Laura Malcolm. She's actually my wonderful niece, and she is the founder and president of a compassion ministry called Give InKind. Perfect name for this uh, company, just totally perfect. And I'm so excited to talk to her today. And so, Laura, I want everyone to kind of understand, like, well, let me start by saying we all have things in our life, and then we take steps towards things because of things that we've gone through in our life. And it just hones us into who we're to become. And Laura started this company that's like blessing thousands of people now, and it's just so great. So Laura, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started with Give InKind?
Yeah, thanks, Aunt Nikki. And I'm really excited to share and chat with you today. And I wish that the moment that started Give InKind wasn't one that had touched our whole family so much. But as you know, we lost our first daughter to unexplained stillbirth in 2013. I was 36 weeks pregnant and ready to bring home a baby. And instead, we, in a moment, found out that we weren't going to bring her home. And it's actually a story about Aunt Lissa that I share often. And, she's always so quick to respond, and like our family, does. And she said, I was calling the local stores near you, trying to find out who would deliver. And I didn't know. I wanted to send you cookies, and I didn't know how to get you what you needed. And I thought, wow, there are on-demand services that offer that. There's Instacart. What's Instacart? So we're sitting at home grieving, and the family and support community is whirling around us, trying to figure out what to do. And I know you've been on both sides of that, and people want to know how to help. They don't want to bother you. They don't know what's needed most. But when you want to help someone you love, you want to know what to do, right? So there's also this gift that we wanted to give ourselves of being able to share with our loved ones what we needed most. We want to make it easier for our loved ones to know how to help us in that moment, and wanted to make it easy to do online. And go ahead.
Well, I think even people you don't know as well, you really don't know how to help them.
Yeah.
I mean, or maybe they've got 10 of one thing or whatever, and this helps to focus.
Yeah, we really wanted to empower my coworker had set up a meal train for us, and I had never used meal train. It was a new concept to me, and I thought, this is wonderful. And it filled up right away, and everyone signed up for a meal, but it didn't help our family who was around the country. My husband's family is in New York, and mine primarily in the Pacific Northwest. And so we wanted to create a more modern way that people could come together. They could help in person or online. And so we built Give InKind, and over the last 7 years, we've had millions of people come to show support for one another, and drop off meals, give rides to the doctor, help out with kids, send gift cards, raise money, whatever it might be that is needed most in that moment.
Exactly. And yeah, I think something that you just said about not only do they not know what to do, they're almost nervous about doing the wrong thing. And the way you've set this up is like what the person needs and wants then, and or doesn't want. And so I think it's more specific than some of the other ones we've done. Our church has done a lot of different kinds of things, and it works, but this goes a step further because it's not just about food. It might be about appointments and those kinds of things. So why don't you let us know who all can use this, who benefits from this, what kind of people, not just about someone with loss or in the hospital, but what other kinds of, how far does this reach?
Absolutely. So the number one reason that people set up a page on Give InKind is for postpartum support, bringing home a baby. That is about 25% of Give InKind pages are set up for somebody welcoming a new baby. Wow. And getting support. So that's neat. as you might imagine, we saw, you know, a lot of growth starting in 2020 because people wanted to be able to help from afar without having a revolving door of visitors, but people still wanted to show their support. Surgery recovery, really big. Cancer support, you know, that the need for support through that journey is long. And so it's not instant the same way it might be with a loss. Need support for a long time. And so they'll often coordinate that support on Give InKind. And then loss. Those 4 categories make up the bulk of the reasons that people set up Give InKind pages, but they set them up for Teacher Appreciation Week, for volunteers in the classroom, for organizing.
Wow. That's
we have
great.
nonprofit organizations who collect digital gift cards. And so we have several chapters of Ronald McDonald House locations who both organize their volunteers through Give InKind, but they also accept donations of gift cards that they can distribute to the families who might be traveling in. They're away from all their needs. So they're a way for people to help support the organization themselves. So everyone from individuals through nonprofit groups.
So I'm part of a group that Boise is one of the 50 towns that helps refugees, like where they send them. They send them to like 50 different towns. I'm not talking about thousands of people, immigrants that are just going into wherever, but the 50 towns where there's. So we, you know, get groups from different countries at different years. Maybe one year it's a lot from Sudan, and maybe 1 year it's a lot from Bosnia or whatever. And so they help not just with food things, but they help with things like they have to get a phone or they can't get a job, and they have to get a driver's license for ID, and they go to an English class usually because they really want to learn, and they don't have rides to get to anything, and they don't have a way to get around. And so one thing is taking someone to their English class, or one thing would be like when they first come, maybe they're in a hotel that's using 10 rooms or something, but then they have to go find a place and they have to get furniture for that. Those kinds of things. Does Give InKind, do they help all sorts of organizations like those kinds of things also?
Yep. And the beauty is the flexibility of our, what we call our care calendar, which is everything that's date-based is organized through, and you can put anything you want on that calendar. So people do it because you have custom events. So you can say, take the person out on a, you know, scouting for housing. People use it for check-ins. They use it just for, you know, somebody's recovering or grieving for something. And you know, we know that people need check-ins, and they want to commit to that. People have run prayer chains through it, where they will put a sign-up slot for every day, and then know that that is just what that person has requested as prayer, and they have organized on a Give InKind page. That flexibility of that to be able to say, here's what we need on this day. You also can share announcements. This is coming home day from the hospital, or this is day for the refugees. You can put them right on the calendar. You can share updates. So if you've ever seen a Caring Bridge site, for example, we put together all the pieces, which is what we were hearing from families when we were building it. Is these families would say, well, you know, our kid's been on this health journey, and we were posting updates, you know, on a Caring Bridge, and we had an Amazon wish list and a GoFundMe, and they just needed one place to put it together. And so that's really
where it's all hooked together. That's a great idea. We're talking right now to Laura Malcolm. She is the founder and president of the company Give InKind that's based in Seattle area. And I'm just so glad, Laura, that we have you today. And one thing that I really wanted to know, like, what is, if you were to tell someone in a nutshell, like you're sitting on a bus with someone or somewhere, and they're sharing something that's happened, what would you say would be the reason the main reason they should set up have a relative, even someone else or a friend, set up their page for Give InKind?
Yeah, because people want to help. Right. And it's sometimes we have to know that in my moment, when no one was bothering me, they were reaching out to all the people closest to me, right, to find out what to do. And I think that being able to share what it is that you need so that people can help in the best way is a really good reason to set one up. I think people are afraid that, what if nobody helps? And
Yeah.
that's a hard one. And so right now, where we see the most traction for people getting support is when they do have a community of people who want to help, which is why set up for coworkers are really popular. Which is organized by churches, because you have a group of people who are used to participating in the support for each individual person. And so, I think if I'm telling somebody and I'm offering to set up a Give InKind page for them, I'm talking about there's one place to share that information. If you've ever gotten that on the receiving end of the barrage of texts of what's going on, send an update, are they out of surgery? What do they need? What, that it can really streamline communication, not just for the person who is needing the help, but for their loved ones as well. It's meant to make it easier for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, just brilliant how you've set it up, because I'm not very techie. Obviously, that's why the Zoom wasn't working. I'm not very techie. And the thought of going online and setting up a page is a little daunting to me. But the fact that, you said somebody else can set it up for you, help you with that. And also, if you're not doing very well, not feeling well, or something's happened, something tragic, you're probably not in the mood to sit at the computer and do something.
So the vast majority of the time, it's somebody else setting it up.
Yeah,
absolutely. On behalf of someone else.
Right, because people aren't in the mood to really do that or figure it out or whatever. So I don't know anything about how this works, but I know that you work also with companies that help you and support you. Can you tell us a little bit about how they get involved and how they work?
Yeah, so we have really grown from just being set up a Give InKind page for your friend into offerings both for companies and for churches specifically. That's where we're focused. I'm going to be at the Church Network Conference in July, which I'm excited about. So if any of your listeners are there, then they can come say hi at the Give InKind booth at the conference. And so when organizations sign up to use Give InKind, they can use it in two ways. They can create a group page, which is a nice way to have a central spot where if you are organizing multiple Give InKind pages, so you might have a meal ministry at your church whose whole role is to set up meal support for people who are grieving or recovering or welcoming a new baby. And depending on the size of your group, you might have 3 to 10 people that you're supporting at any time. So that makes it so that you can have one link and see all of the pages that are active. We can tell you how much support has been powered through all of those pages at once. So, wow, this month, your group signed up for 72 meals, and isn't that wonderful? And then it's a similar thing for companies as well. So companies are signing up to not just organize on a group page, but to give InKind as a benefit to their employees, so that you can use this in your home life if you want, because supporting employees is really important. Making employees feel cared for is important. There's a statistic that didn't surprise me because I was one of them. And it says that if you have an employee who suffered a great loss and they didn't feel supported by their employer, 50% of them will leave their job.
Ooh, wow.
It's, we want to feel, bereavement in this country is underwhelming. We don't have a lot of time or space to either grieve or recover. And so just making people feel supported and cared for is important. And sometimes some of us need some guidance or reminders on how I am admittedly not the best person. Sometimes it's ironic that this is the company that I started, because gifting is not my love language, and remembering to follow up is not my strength. And I think that a platform like Give InKind helps everyone stay in touch and say, makes it easy for people to help and participate in the care.
It's hard for me to believe that you don't follow up on things, but you're way more organized than me. Actually, gifting is my love language.
Yes.
But you know, so it's easy for me to like. I'm always thinking of that thing, but I'm not always organized to figure it all out. Which this gives a great way to make make that happen in an easier form. And so I know that you have gone to other countries to work with technology to do some different things. Is this how far reaching is this? Is it in all countries, or do you have like 20 countries, or?
It's actually not yet available outside the US. And we get requests every day asking when Give InKind will be available in Australia and in Canada. A lot of our limitation today is that our gift cards are primarily only available in the US. And that is still a big part of how people want to give support. Someone is not looking to leverage gift cards in their support and they're just using the care calendar and they're doing in-person help, then they can use it from anywhere. And they do. They're supposed to put in an address and we see some funny ones show up and we go, that's not a address. And they ask all the time when to be marketing and available in those other countries. So it's certainly in our plans and our hopes to expand.
Wow, that seems like there'd be a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah, privacy restrictions and technology wise, it certainly, they don't make it easy, but.
No, I even had someone in England. I was having dinner with one of Craig's coworkers, and she was not happy that she couldn't get my book there.
Oh.
I had given her husband one through Craig, and he kept it at his office and she'd never seen it. I said, why don't you let your wife see it? He goes, well, I'm using it as an example of a book well printed. So I keep it in my office. So then she goes, well, I'll order it. Well, she's not able to order it. So I just need to send them another copy, I guess, for her to have of her own. But anyway.
Is that your beautiful coffee table book?
Yeah. And he works with the printing industry. And when Craig worked for HP, they were co-workers, and he uses it. He likes the fonts and things like that. And so he uses that as an example of the binding and the tape on the binding and so he uses it as an example. So she's never seen it. But anyway, it is more complicated to be international with, I understand that a little bit. It is a little bit hard.
The needs are the same. I think it's so you need the universal desire to want to be cared for in a moment, no matter how hard it is to ask for help. And absolutely the universal desire to want to help, right? That's the first thing we do. I think about that moment when you get a text or a phone call, somebody has told you that something has happened, right? Your very first thought is usually, what should I do? What can I do in this moment to help support that person around them?
It is hard. One of the chapters actually in that book is called Aunt Betty. And I found out a couple of days ago that she's elderly. She's like 88 or something. And she fell and she's by herself in her home. And I felt really helpless to know how I can help her. And that just happened a couple of days ago. And I'm still like, anyway. So if someone today watching this knows someone that they want to set up a page for, what are the steps they need to take to make that happen? And then I want you to share your website and all that too.
Yeah, so they're going to go to giveinkind.com, GIVEINKIND, and click start a page. And it's less than 5 minutes. We're always working to make it simpler. And if anyone gets stuck, we have live chat support 5 days a week who is ready to help guide anyone through who has any questions about how to set up the page. But it'll ask you, why are you setting up a page? Who is it for? We even have stuff, it's so interesting. You name the page in that step.
Mhm.
we found that people were spending time struggling with like, what do I name the page? Well, so we
Mm.
have a little page name idea generator, and you just click the button and it's going to tell you, well, if this is a surgery page, we could all say, rallying for Rosie or whatever their name
Okay.
might be. So some
Oh, gotcha. Mhm.
ideas. And
Wow.
that's
Huh.
it. You have the page and you share the things that you need and set up the calendar so that people can sign up to help and then send it out.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cool. Well, wow. I wonder if I could do that for Betty. Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with this. And sometimes, I'm driving down the road. I'm really talking to the listeners with this because I'm sure you follow through in a lot of this. I'm driving down the road and I feel prompted to send a card or something to someone I know that is like having a hard time. And then it's like 2 weeks later and I have not done it. And I just feel like I grieve the spirit a little bit. Like I'm being prompted to do it, but I don't follow through on what he's prompting me to do, what God's prompting me to do. And I think, you know, having this on my video series I did during COVID, there was steps in there of things to do to be intentional. And this whole podcast, Live Boldly Ministries, has a lot to do with living your life with purpose. What are you intentionally going to do during the week? And this is a great way of keeping this in mind of because we all know people that are struggling with something. And so we could encourage someone to use Give InKind that would help them because we know that they're overwhelmed with life. And we can also pray for them, but we also can do something practical. And God wants us to do something practical to be able to help. And so, Laura, I so appreciate you explaining this all to us. And we can really get the word out to more people and it'll benefit so many people. And so I appreciate you so much, dear Laura, for being on this podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.